Hi, greetings. My name's Matt. I'm from UK Ghost Explorers, but I'm the lead clairvoyant medium, and I go around different sites and pick up and translate any events or spirits that may reside there or that wish to pass on the message. So I'm doing a series of videos based upon my book, which I've released, called Haunted Voices, and I'll leave the description below. But today I'm going to speak about the Mermaid Inn. I'll see you shortly. Welcome back. My name's Matt. I'm from UK Coast Explorers. As I said, today I'm doing the research of the Mermaid Inn, and I'm basing upon the research I did when I did a paranormal investigation there there was about 6 of us, which took place several years ago, but I'm recording the video now in order to reflect on that and obviously taking it from my book. Now, the Mermaid Inn is in Rye, which is in East Sussex, just down by the coast, and it has phenomenal history based around the Hawksworth gang, which were a bunch of smugglers back in, I think it was the 14th century, if I remember correctly. So the property dates back for the 11th century, but then there was a fire around the 14th century, and then it was rebuilt in the 15th century, so it's about 1400s. It's haunted by many different spirits. One of them in particular is a maid who she was murdered, and you can still hear her body being dragged through the different parts of the property. The other spirit is there's a little girl which haunts there as well, and there's also some of the smugglers which haunt there. Some of the active rooms are the lounge, room 19 and room 17, which I shall be talking about as I'm going through creating this video and showing you what I saw. Now, it's really interesting because when we first arrived there, just a quick background on what we did. So when we arrived there, I done a baseline test, went there with a friend of mine, and what I saw, which was really interesting, was that as we walked around, we went to different rooms, and we went to one of the rooms which had the 2 red chairs there. And as I walked into the room, I can smell a strong, potent smell of cigars. And it was a really strong, it was like as if somebody was smoking it. You know when you get that whiff and it goes up your nose? Everyone, there's 3 of us, including the owner, was there and could smell it. And again, at that time, I used to be smoking cigars, and I wasn't smoking that day, but it was just in this certain part. And I'll show you the chair, which it obviously now, as you can see, this red chair you can see is where, with the 2 chairs, as where the smell came as you walked into the room. And on one of the chairs, you can see an orb. And again, we can see the orb physically, but as we took the picture electronically, we could see it in the background, and it was also making itself quite known and seemed to be moving at an angle. As you can see here, it's really quite strong. The other thing was, when I was in the lounge, there's stories of when people would go, someone went to visit there, and they got a bit frightened and wanted to stay the night, so they ended up sleeping in the lounge. And obviously the owner came back downstairs, or staff came on in the morning and saw the couple sleeping in the lounge downstairs because they refused to go back to their room. And then let me go back to what I was saying about when I did a walkthrough with my friend of mine. So as I've done a walkthrough, we got to the part where we was in the alleyway, and as we was down one of the corridors, which led to the spiral stairs, we could hear the sound. By then the owner went, and it was just us just doing a baseline test to get the electronic readings. It took the EMP, which stands for the electronic magnetic pulse, which is a level we test when we go to any room in order to, just in case a spirit comes in and shifts the level, that room's set over a period of time and is always recorded. Now, let me just go back to this room, which was room 19, which I mentioned about the lady being murdered. Her name was Annabelle. Now, Annabelle was known to be dating Thomas Kingsmill. Now he was infamous, especially around East Sussex, and the whole of the street and the whole of Rye was aware of the Hawksworth gang. They were a gang of smugglers. Now this guy Thomas used to date, as I mentioned, Annabelle. Annabelle was a maid who lived and worked at the Mermaid Inn back in around the 11th century, 11th to 12th century, and it was in room 19 where you can see here on the lamp, where you can see the orb which went past the lamp itself. After we called out to Annabelle, saying about 3 or 4 times, and we got pictures of these anomalies and these orbs going past the lamp, and then you could hear like a banging on the actual walls. The other important thing about room 19, or what's quite active in there, is it's known that that's where he may have resided. Thomas may have been seen, or where she would have been killed. Back to room 19, as we left there, we decided to follow the path, the corridor, and we went to just outside room 2. And outside room 2 led to a spiral staircase. And as we were standing there, we could hear, you know, the sound of somebody having like a body in a sack being pulled, but it sounded like a melon as you was dragging it, because you heard someone shifting it, and it felt like it was one person trying to pull this body or this sack along. So anyway, as we was there, we was listening, we heard it getting closer to us, so we kind of stopped. And when we stopped, it stopped. And then it was on the left of us, so it went past us, and you can hear it going down the stairs, and you can hear the different sounds of as the body or the sack being dragged each step as he went down. So obviously straight away we went running towards the stairs and was like, what the hell? So we got there, and then there was nobody there clearly, and we were just looking, but you can still hear the sound of this sack being pulled, and it wasn't the sound of like a melon in this sack. It sounded like somebody was in the sack. It sounded like it was a body of somebody's head. Anyway, as he pulled it down the stairwell, we followed it down. There was nobody there. So as we got down the stairs, we stood at the bottom of the stairs, and we could feel the impression, this really heavy impression, and sense it, of this energy around us. It was really, really, really intense. So then we called out to Thomas, because that's who we believed it was, and I could feel Thomas is trying to go around me and go behind me. So I called in my guys to block him, because obviously I didn't want to channel him. But it got really, really intense, and it got really, really warm. So later on, we returned back to me talking to the owner. And we explained what the situation was and what happened. She said, when I left you, I blocked all the doors to that section of the building of the actual property. She gave the time off for the workers not to be there, and she told the staff not to go that side. And she said that exit would have been the exit they would have done when you're removing like rubbish from the different parts of that hotel or that inn. So she goes, that is weird, you sensing that, and then that's when she told us the story that people have heard people moving stuff going down that stairwell. We never knew that when we were there. One of the important things was, outside room 2, we saw was loads of anomalies, different orbs moving around. And one of the important things as we was working and we was doing the research on that day, we could sense that the energy was very heavy, but yet there was a story. Also, one of the stories was in room, I think it was 17, there was a rocking chair that used to just rock on its own. And the rocking chair was that bad that they had to remove the chair and put it elsewhere in a hotel, because people just weren't staying there, because they'd be waking up and this rocking chair is rocking without anybody in it. And one of the important things was, when we done the investigation on that day, I set up like these post-its with alphabets, you know, so 26 letters and numbers. So we went off to lunch, or we went off to have dinner, come back, it was not moved. So what I did do, I had the keys to that side of the property, nobody else. The owner was away on holiday, so it was just me. And she was due back that the following day when we were finishing the investigation. So I locked away an item in the drawer, and it was locked, sealed. Everybody was there when I'd done it. We went off to lunch. We come back. The door was locked, and I said I had the keys. Come back. Went to check the alphabets. It's fine. Went to check one of the people that was staying with us, who was in investigation, started screaming, and so we all go running in down these corridors to get there, and the drawer was open. So there's no way it could be opened by anybody else but by myself, which I was always with them. And that was the empowering thing, or the really strange occurrence, that nobody could identify because they saw her give me the key. The other thing was, me and this other person were staying in a room, and I can't remember what room it was. I think it's room 9. So I can't remember what room it was. But it was just outside the where the sign is. So you get where the sign goes, you can hear it like rocking. It was made of metal. So as we stayed in, we was doing the investigation. We just sat there, lights are off, and then you could imagine the old sword fights, you know, like Elflin with the old musketeers sword fights. We could hear that going on, and it was happening. It began like hitting each other, and it stopped. Like there was a duel going on, and then it would start. Then you heard like something's being pierced into flesh, and then it quickly, like, you know, when you hear the pull out of it, and then you just hear like the sounds of something falling down the stairs, so being dropped down the stairs. So we went running to the area, and everyone come and met us there. And it was, so as you can see the picture here, which is now a toilet, the stairs led downstairs, but it was no longer there. But the story was that in that room there was a jewel. And before I can say that about the story, the person was saying to me, I'm sure it must be the sign. I goes, no, the sign's not moving. You can see the sign outside, which is made of metal. It was stationary. There was no wind. So the story was, I knew this story, and the story is that there was a jewel fight in that room, and the residual energy would come back. Either you hear the audio, or you see the sight is the full manifestation. But you see the sword fights of these two people dueling, and then them killing the other, and then throwing them down the stairwell to get rid of the body. And when I told that story, their hair stood on end. So anyway, the whole point was, I wanted to just kind of share with you about the Mermaid Inn. For me, it was one of the most paranormal, active places I've been to. And as we've done various things, moving around the rooms, and we spent the day there, we spent the evening there, and the night. It was so empowering, and for me, I put it as one of the big, important parts of my investigations I've done, because it had everything. It had orbs, it had sword fights, it had audio sounds, it had physical manifestations of moving of objects, and it also had audio which 2 people or 3 people witnessed. To finally finish on something, this video off, when I was standing by the where the sword fight took place, I was standing by the ensuite, and I was standing there. I was in conference with my guides about the day, and somebody was taking photographs, and then decided to start taking pictures of me working. So I told him, don't take pictures because my lot don't like it. So he turned away, and he carried on taking a picture. Then he said, oh my gosh, he looked on the camera, and there was around me, there were 7 orbs, like standing like lines. And then as he was looking at it, the battery just went, it just went drained out, and he goes, "These are new set of batteries. I've charged them up." He put another batteries in. They died. So then he was like, "That's just strange. That's never happened to me before." I go, "My lot don't want you to record it." So later on, I go, "It'll be fine." But he got it back again, and that actual picture was actually erased. You couldn't see anything on it. The rest of the pictures was. So I just want to end on that note. The Mermaid Inn in East Sussex is an amazing place to go to. It's in Rye, and I'm looking forward to getting back there again, probably in the near distant future. So stay blessed and stay safe, and keep ghost hunting.